Why they're bearing arms? Well, because they want to protect their property. That's because black folk were property. Then what nowadays, if you were to say to black folk, okay, black folk, you're going to protect your property. And now, and since you're outnumbered 10-1 in society, and you don't, nobody knows what bear arms mean, why don't you get machine guns? Blacks could get machine guns if they wanted to. Black folk right now could go out and get tanks. They can get bazookas, okay? Because they wanted to, or they can even say, well, since we outnumber 10-1 and racism is still in existence, because deep in the white folks' psyche is what happens about 460 years ago. They always had this massive obsession and fear of black folk having a riot and coming up against it. Right, every white right now, every conservative organization, whether the White Klan or the bald-headed skinheads or the Knights of the Black Horse Brigade or the White Chameleons, they always had a fear that one day there's going to be a major race riot in America. That's the big reason why they fight for guns. That's why they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about gun removal because they know that black folk, they want to keep black folk as disarmed as possible by having them turn in their guns to get groceries while they stock up on guns and weapons. That's why every time there's an issue that rises that looks like it might precipitate something dealing with race, they'll rush out and buy every gun they can get. They're loaded down with them. And because again, black folk have never said, well, I want outnumber 10-1, I want an atomic bomb. Because under that law, he could say that. A black right now could say, I can go out. If black folk were to get very smart, see, and they can start doing what I learned early in political science. What you do is the best defense is an offense. You say, okay, I'm gonna flip the switch. I'm not gonna be against gun control. I'm not gonna be against removing the Second Amendment. I'm gonna say, no, enhance it. So that I go out now and based on what I want to be armed with, because my neighbors might attack me, I'm gonna put landmines in my front yard. So if anybody's kids put on my yard, I can blow the hell out of them. Or I'm gonna go get me an atomic bomb. But see, no, black folk are too busy playing the political party stuff with the Democratic Party and the liberals saying, we don't want the guns and weapons. You should do just the opposite. No, we want them just like whites. And I want every black household, it being mandated that every black household has at least 10 AKs, okay? I mean, that's the way you stop. That's where you end. You see, that way you go right to the third rail and lift the third rail up so everybody can see the third rail. The third rail is that nobody wants black folk to be armed. They want black folk to be vulnerable and defenseless and without weapons, and their white folk controlled all so they can keep them just like they did during the slavery.
So let's talk about black people in the NRA. I'm in this one Facebook group. It's a black gun group. About 40,000 people in there. Obviously, it's Facebook, so you know some bots and some feds, some disguised white folks probably up in there too. But it's a pretty big group, and there's discussions and there's conversations about guns. And I've noticed this since the first time I was in the group, but as of lately, I've seen a lot of this rhetoric. The fuck the NRA, calling Noir as a coon, dumbing down of the power or the importance of protecting the Second Amendment. You even have some folks in there who talk about common sense gun laws, like get that liberal shit out of here. But I'm trying to put it together the last few weeks because I've been wanting to do this video for a minute. I was going to do one, I don't trust black people who push gun control, but I'll do that next. But I want to focus on this part first. But I'm trying to break this shit down, trying to get understanding of it. And then it just dawned on me that wherever black people go, they bring the liberal bullshit with them. That's just what it all boils down to. But let's break that down a bit. Perplexed. So this is the black gun group I was talking about. That's the logo they have. Like I said, there's about 40,000 people in the group. But as of lately, the last few weeks, especially after this last shooting at the school, there's been a lot of, counter arguments to the NRA and their responses. And I'm trying to, process this shit, like trying to figure it out, because you got a person here and there that'll post something of the NRA, and I'll give you an example of it, but it'll be like, fuck them, fuck holding on Noir, blah, 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 all this other stuff, right? But then it even goes deeper when you have people talking about what's wrong with more delayed time in getting your gun. What's wrong with more restrictions? What's wrong with changing the age? Like, and I'm thinking like this is a black gun group. Like, huh? When I'm in the white gun groups, they not pleading or breaking down or saying like this policy should happen or whatever. They're sharing information about the laws, about what politician is trying to do what. And I'm thinking like, well, I'm in my black gun group. It's about black gun owners and education, right? I would think that these people want to be educated on what laws are being changed. Now, I don't know. This could be all or nothing. It could be the reality that a lot of these folks don't really care about the Second Amendment or preserving or the principle around it. They just live in a free state and they luckily can have the things they want. And I admit, I'd be jealous of the shit I'd be seeing in that group. I mean, cats got 100-round mags and 25-round drum for the shotgun. You name it, they got it. Scorpions, vectors, not scorpions, vectors, AK-47. Some folks got fully automatics, all legal stuff, right? And I'm thinking to myself, like, all the shit that they have in that group, 30-round mags for their AR, all the features they want, which are kind of dumb because that just weighs the gun down and makes it less effective to shoot. You already can't shoot anyways. But I'm saying they can have all that stuff, and the liberal politicians are trying to take those things away. And in the group, the black gun group, Context Matters, there's no discussion about those things. Like, you might get a person here and there. Like I said, there's more animosity and hatred for the NRA than there is for the black politicians or white liberal politicians who are trying to restrict you. And that shit does not make sense to me. I'm not making an argument that people should join the NRA. I am trying to process, I just figured it out. It's just that simple. Black people bring all the liberal bullshit with them wherever they go. That's just all I can look at it. You ain't having these type of debates and conversations in a white group. Now, I did ask some questions because I wanted to know, because I know there are white boys who don't like the NRA too, right? I didn't know of this reason why, so I asked. I asked a couple alt-licey kind of guys, Jared Taylor listener types, right? And I was asking them, what's your beef with the NRA? And I've asked several of them. They were basically much saying like they don't think the NRA is enough. They think they compromise too much. They don't like when they just recently said about the bump stocks. They don't like how they said that the ATF should regulate that, and correctly, that's not the ATF's responsibility. They can ban the sale of new ones, but it's not the responsibility, or they don't have the power to go out and confiscate them. That's not in their jurisdiction to do. Understood. But the NRA kicked that away. Personally, I don't think anybody cares about bump stocks. That's why I thought it was an easy sell. They're not that it happened in Vegas. So that was it. It's just, for those who are principled, they don't want anything because they say if you pick that and take that, then you take everything else. So I get that, but I don't care about bump stocks. I don't think most people do either, and the NRA doesn't. But one of the other reasons why people say they don't like the NRA is because they view that they're just a bunch of old white dudes who only care about their shotguns and rifles, so they don't care about they were arguing that they don't care about, you're going to see some of the pretty guns too. They don't care about, bump stocks and they don't care about like AR-15s and all that stuff. And I do know that divide does exist. I remember being in conversations when I was younger with the hunter types who only have rifles and shotguns, and they don't have any of these scary looking so-called assault rifles. And there is that divide. There is that divide between older and younger. There is that divide between these type of weapons and those who not. That's outside of politics or race or whatever. But some of the white boys were saying that they think that they don't really care about these type of things. And that's why they compromise on them often. That's a critique or a criticism I didn't understand. I thought the liberals in the media overhyped or over gave them power, because I'm like, I live in New York. At any given time, a governor of any state can veto or pass a law. He can executive order or do what they did in New York at the middle of the night. They passed the bill, people couldn't review it, vote for it, whatever, and it was done. Even though it didn't make any sense, because it was like the cops had to abide by it. It was like 7 bullets in your gun. It's like a bunch of dumb shit where they don't make 7 rounds for a hand pistol, then they change it to 10 later on. Like, but that's what happens when you just push some shit through. So I'm saying, like, the NRA has sued on behalf of New Yorkers in the SAFE Act. And that's, I guess, kind of my issue. What's confusing to me is, like, they act as if the NRA doesn't do anything. Like, they don't lobby. Like, they don't, when a situation happens, they don't go and send their lawyers and their resources to try to get those laws changed. Their mindset is, well, they just want money and this and that. And I'm like, they have 5 million members. Their responsibility, in my opinion, is simply to focus on guns. That's it. But what I notice about us is that we like to bring, like I said, all the liberal bullshit with us. And we want to make shit about other things other than guns, right? An example, Major Jackson, shout out to him. He was talking about how he went to a Colin Kaepernick protest, and he was protesting for him specifically in the police brutality thing. And, like, you know, he's in Chicago. He's at a Bears game. They were shitty anyways. And, you know, people are getting rowdy because, you know, they're protesting. They're blocking folks from trying to go to the game and watch. So, you know, anything can pop off with this situation. And he's at the protest, and people are talking on the podium, and he's all thinking, like, the first speaker went up, then the second speaker went up, and this chick started talking about, and we're boycotting the NFL until they get a gay quarterback. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I didn't come out here to protest for that. I'm not about to get beat up or fight because you want that. But that's the point, is you can have a movement or organization or lobby that's specifically about one thing, and people, you let everybody in and they start co-opting it and making it about other things that it wasn't supposed to be about. Well, black people do that too. And that's why I'm saying, like, I can understand why people might not want you to come into their groups. It just dawned on me like that. Like, it's just that simple. I get it that black folks can't be one issue voters. The NRA is a one issue situation. And I know we don't have the luxury of doing that. So when we come, we want to talk about X, Y, Z, and this and that, and they should be doing this and they should be doing that. And I'm like, no, their only responsibility is to protect gun rights. In fact, first to their members. And that's one of the other issues I have, is that a lot of the people were saying, did they help, or why they didn't speak out, or why didn't they say something about, like, they weren't their members, right? But I've said this before in my videos that, like, if you make me a monster, you label me this and you label me that, I personally can't fuck with you. Like, I'm not gonna prove to you I'm not. And I'm saying the sentiment has been in our communities that they're racist, they're opportunists, they don't care about nobody. We're hopping on the bandwagon, at least with, you know, Black Lives Matter and Tamika Mallory and, you know, your girl Angela Bright Skin Rye. And that's one thing, because I'm going to do a video about that, her and Darlene and Moist Ass. But she's over here talking about we got to destroy the NRA and take them out and stuff like that. And what I was revealed just this last few weeks, pontificating and asking questions, like I said, there's a lot of white boys who don't like the NRA either. And they have their reasons. But their reasons are that the NRA doesn't do enough and they're not hard enough. So even if you were to shut down them or curtail their lobbying power, the monster you create, who knows? Because I know there's other groups that are not as vocal or as visible as the NRA, like the USCAA or something like that. And you could awake a sleeping giant by attacking the NRA, thinking they're doing too much. Because again, there's people who don't think they're doing enough, and you can just have all types of craziness comes out because these dudes are like strict, like they don't want no compromises, which is what the NRA does do. Like, we got the Knicks check because of the NRA, and some of the bands, some of the situations happen because of them. But it's weird how they saying that the NRA is just so powerful and this, that, but in '94 there was a ban. The NRA didn't stop that. I live in New York. The NRA didn't stop that from happening. What we got, the SAFE Act, or what happened in Florida after the shooting, or what happened in Connecticut. Like, states and the politicians have the right to do what they want to do at the state, local level. You can't blame them for not acting. I don't want them to act, but I'm saying they have the power to do that in their own states. The federal government doesn't have to get involved in that. But yeah, that's just what, like I was saying about You Make Me a Monster. Getting back on track, right? And if our sentiment is that the NRA is racist and they don't care about black people, blah, 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 then this is what really bothers me more than anything. Why is it that when we do dumb shit with a gun, we don't call NAGA, which is the Black Gun Organization, we don't call Huey P. Newton, we call on NRA, right? Dr. Boyce Watkins, Mr. Quit Your Job, get out of the corporate America. When Philando Castile situation happened, he was doing rants about the NRA and not helping and not doing enough. And I'm like, whoa, why didn't you call on NAGA? In fact, Maria Lloyd did a video with one of the founders of NAGA on his channel. I'm thinking like, well, why wouldn't you say, what is NAGA doing? Now the reality is NAGA, Huey P. Newton, they don't have the lobbying power, they don't have the resources to do any of the things that the NRA can do. So let's stop it with that. You should join the NRA, you should join NAGA. No, motherfucker. Hunting and fishing is not, you can watch that shit on YouTube. NAGA's not nowhere near on that level and has none of the lobbying power. That's what you want in a gun organization. And you want to sign up for an organization that when you do some shit, they're going to respond with a lawyer or somebody come up. And that's what bothers me too, is like, if we say those things about the NRA and this and that, then why is it that they're the ones we call on when some stuff happens bad? Case in point, the sister in Philly who drove to New Jersey with her gun, which is dumb. It was probably more dumb that she told the cops she had a gun in the car. Some liberal DA is going to throw the book at her. If it wasn't for the NRA doing this pro bono work to help her out, the first thing we're saying, oh, they only helped her because it's helping their interests. Duh. Get your feelings out of it and understand that's how things work. People, incentives matter. But if you label them that, but then they are the first people you call, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and all these people in the media who demonize the NRA, say they baby killers and all this other stuff, they also are the first people to say the NRA. And that's where we fuck up. You can't demonize somebody and say that they don't fuck with you, but then that's the same person you call on to help you when you fuck up. That shit don't make no sense to me. And that's what makes it just worse. You can give them, in this group, these dialogues have been happening the last month, since the shooting happened in February. People saying, oh, they don't really care about us, or they don't do anything about it. I'm like, fuck your feelings. It's not about that. Now, hands down, if you are a member of the NRA and you are black, and you don't like the way they handle the Philando Castile situation, don't renew your membership. Totally understandable. I got that. They gave an excuse or a reason why. It's the same thing. They didn't. Dana Lash did. Talked about how in his state, I guess, when he felt for his concealed carry card, he lied about using marijuana. As trivial as that may sound, that's actually true. I've already done videos about weed and black folks need to leave it alone. But whether we agree or care or not, that's a cop-out that they can say is valid. Now, personally, I don't think that the NRA will go against their bigger supporters. They're not going to alienate them, which is the police unions, over Philando Castile. It's just that simple to me. And we say that they don't do enough and this and that, but I'm like, well, how many of us are members? Like, again, incentives matter, right? No permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent interests. If they know that doing that would hurt their core audience, police unions, and they know that black people don't even join up, black people don't even have guns, and they know how black folks feel about them, Why would they do that anyway? Like, that's just real basic talk. If I know you don't benefit me, if I know, even if I go out of my way to do some pro bono work to help the old black guy who couldn't get his permit because of some stupid laws that some liberal made in the city, or sister who was in Chicago that everybody also called on the NRA to help her when her boyfriend got shot, and she shot in the air, which is dumb, right? Another dumb thing that a black person did with a gun. You shoot at the people who shoot at you, not in the air, and you can accidentally hit somebody else that is innocent. We called on the NRA to help her too. Not NAGA, not Huey P. Newton. I remember when all the black people on YouTube, all the pro-blacks and everybody was doing a response to the Dana Lash little ad. The one that Tamika Mallory and the Black Lives Matter and all that had to go protest the NRA headquarters. And I saw everybody saying the exact same shit. And it just was like, I'm perplexed. I looked at the ad and I'm thinking, okay, they went out of their way to make this look like it's a white on white issue. To me, in the ad, they had no black people in there. They had all the anarchists, the anti-Trumpers, Antifa, damaging, burning buildings, all that. All those people were inside this little short ad, and somehow black folks dragged us into it, right? Sarge talked about this all the time about how black women are supposed to be the most unprotected group on the planet, right? But they keep putting themselves in situations. They want to be the face of Trump's impeachment, with your auntie Maxine. Or they want to be the face of the ones to destroy the NRA, your girl Angela Rye. Most unprotected, but y'all putting yourselves in the crossfire of some dangerous mofos, right? But yeah, I'm watching the ad, and I'm like, okay, it's basically white on white crime. It's Trump supporters or conservatives or NRA members versus Antifa or, you know, black, because there were no black people in the ad. And I'm saying every single black person who did a review of the ad said it's a coded language and it's a dog whistle. And I'm like, come on now, like, they don't have to be using dog whistles. They're emboldened. Remember, Trump's in office. Like, I can't debate or make arguments off of this is what they said, but this is what they really mean. Like, you can't argue off of that. It wasn't that deep. It looked like they clearly went out of their way to make the ad look like it's exactly what I said it was. White on white issue. And again, we let ourselves get into that. Then Tamika Mallory's on TV, the black woman being the face of, you know, going after the NRA with, you notice you didn't see Linda Cesar or the Mexican chick, I don't even know her name. It was Tamika Mallory, the face of that. And then she goes with the stuff that you hear all these liberals on TV saying, I have a gun, or I this isn't that, or, but then you're marching, right? Just like the Kaepernick situation, an example I gave. You had Moms Against Guns marching with you. You had anti-gun groups in that space with you. So it's like, you can say it was one thing, or you're calling on the NRA and demanding that they apologize for the ad and all this other nonsense, but you had anti-gunners with you. You had people who don't think people should be able to carry guns. So off the bat, you lost your credibility with that. But that's just my video. I've been pondering about this for a minute, and again, it just dawned on me though. Like, I'll give you an example of some of the stuff that goes on in a group, but it's a black gun group, and there's no, like, I could say, like, I'm not telling you go sign up the NRA, but the enemy of my friend is my friend. How that shit go? Like, they don't address the actual policies or, you know, things being said towards gun owners ever. It's usually them siding with whoever the liberal is or whatever's being said to attack the NRA. Like, they post more stuff, like they share the Young Turks videos in the group, who I'm like, you realize that if the black folks ever got their shit together and had a group that was, you know, on the same level with the lobbying power and had some resources behind it, they would be doing the same videos towards you that they do towards the NRA. I'm like, It just don't make no sense to me that a black gun group does nothing in regards to, like, they call people who talk about the Second Amendment nuts, right? They say that is all propaganda and scare tactics. I'm like, wow. And Dr. Clanson is correct. We always want to play the morality game in a game that's not being played with morals. And that's why we stay taking L's. There's no way in the world that you hear any of these conversations in any other group, any other race about guns. Even the white boys who don't like the NRA, they still know how to utilize them to their benefit to say, oh, I like that policy, or I like that politician, or I like that they fought for that. But they don't completely just say, you know, shut them out. We, on the other hand, we wear our emotions on the sleeves, off the door, off the bat. We got all these demands but don't offer shit. People were upset with Colin Noir and even Tariq Nasheed called himself exposing the black dude with guns, which I think is suspect. That's the second person he put papers out and released the information to the public. That's suspect to me. That's sideways to me. That's looking kind of agent-y to me, right? You did this to Ali. Now you did this to black dude. Black Guns Matter dude. My ass, that's just weird to me. And I'm saying, even outside this group, I listen to Zoe Williams, I listen to Black Authority, I listen to all these different people, and they'll say that NRA is this and NRA is that, and every time Wayne LaPierre does a speech, this is the coded language, this is what they're really saying. But none of that information translates into what do black gun owners do. And then you got this other shit, this like reverse psychology argument, like, oh, we don't want black people to get guns because the white cops are going to kill us all if they know we all go out and get guns. Like, aren't they already doing that as it is? What difference does it make if we armed or not? If that's your logical answer, it's like, there are a couple bigger YouTubers who made that argument. Like, no, we against it. The Vice show, he be sharing rhetoric about gun control and stuff like that. I'm like, I'll save that for my I don't trust black people who push gun control. But I don't know, man. It just seems like wherever we congregate, we bring that shit with us. And it's like, we make it easy for motherfuckers to be like, you know what, I'm not supporting that group. I'm going to go over here with the white boys because they might, when it comes to race, absolutely, we not going to agree. They're going to be delusional. They're going to have all kinds of cognitive dissonance. But when it comes to the task at hand, we can deal with it. And again, we don't know how to be one-issue voters. We don't know how to deal with one thing at a time. We got to bring all types of other shit with us. And that, to me, this is like that simple. So that's why motherfuckers don't want us to come. That's just simple to me. Like, I could just say that I wouldn't yoke myself with a situation like that. Like, I listened to the video that Maria Lloyd did with one of the founders of NAGA. And I'm like, all right, it's a black gun group. It's free the first year, $5. It's cool. I can do that. I ain't no issue. But then I started hearing them talk about common sense gun control laws. I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa, what is this dude talking about? I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. I live in New York. I don't need any more restrictions. I don't need any more compromises. The process for me to get a gun, pistol permit, go take your 5-hour course. If you have one that's not doing everything at once for you, then you got to go to the FBI or the sheriff's office and get printed. That's about $100. You got to go separately and get your pictures, same as the passport. That's about $10. The course is $50. You got to wait a year and a half or a year. Your references got to be on point. 4 of them at least. They've known you at least 10 years. They can't have any felonies or anything like that. And they have to talk to them, or your situation gets scrapped and you go back to the back of the line. AR-15s are not banned. Like, we have a SAFE Act. They are technically banned. Like, you had to register them if you had them before the ban was enacted. You basically, the features are banned. That's it. You can basically have an option. That's what I'm dealing with right now. I can have a AR-15 like the ones you see in these pictures with a fixed mag, or I can sacrifice features and have an ugly ass gun without a fixed mag. Those are my options in New York. Same with the AKs. But I'm saying, like, we have enough restrictions already. And it's weird, like, reference back to the gun group, these people in the group act like Connecticut didn't happen, or New York, or California. Like, they act like what happened in those cities, in those states, whatever, can't happen to wherever they at too. And it's like no concern. Like, I guess I'm just saying, like, it has to be that they're just, it's a hobby, and there's no real, like, they're just lucky that they live somewhere in a free state and they can have what they want to have. And if they lose it, they lose it. That just seems to be the sentiment of the group. And these are people who, you know, black men and women who carry, who are armed. Again, they have arsenals. You got to look at the stuff that you see in the group. I wouldn't be showing all my stuff like that on the internet either if I had it. But yeah, you see some crazy stuff in the groups. But I just don't understand the wanting to preserve that and wanting to use it. You get dumb arguments like, the Second Amendment wasn't meant for us. Motherfucker, none of that shit was meant for us. This country was built for white men. That's what their intentions was. We weren't even free. That's why we had amendments. 13th, 14th, 15th was for us. So saying that Second Amendment ain't for us is why we shouldn't care about it, like, that's just dumb. None of these amendments, none of these bills were meant for us. We weren't included in any of that. Yet every day we go to court and we sue, we win, we fight legal battles using the same constitution and same rights that we all know aren't for us. Right? There are things that black folks fought for during the civil rights movement that is specifically for us, yet other groups have no problem coming in that do not deserve it and utilizing those things. They're not complaining, that affirmative action, that was for the black Americans, that ain't for us. We're just too principled. We're not gonna fight to use those things. No, they use them. Fuck out of here with that. I don't know. Black people in the NRA. Again, my point of my video is not to say go join. I've already said if you had an issue with Orlando Still situation, cancel your membership. But a lot of problems with these boycotts, or we're not doing this or doing that, is the people who boycott and who are the most vocal about it, they weren't members anyway. So it's like, it's not an issue. And there are some people in the black gun group who said that. I didn't like the way they handled it. Fine, you're done. But let's not act like y'all have alternatives. Yes, there are other gun groups out there, but they're not as vocal and they're not doing the things that the NRA has done. There should be no emotion behind it. It should just simply, we want them to do this when something happens. We want them to lobby on our behalf. Even when they did the thing about the insurance, every black person on YouTube, again, same thing. This is for white men to kill black people with impunity. Like, most of us don't even live in proximity with each other, right? So 9 times out of 10, if we use a gun to kill somebody, it's gonna be one of us. And for them, the same thing. I support the little extra insurance shit that was like, if you shoot somebody in your house, they're trying to break in. I live in New York. There's all types of laws to protect the criminal. They have to be an imminent threat, meaning you can't shoot them in the back. If they come in your house, beat the shit out of you, and you grab your gun, you can't shoot them in the back. You gotta let them go. If they cross the threshold and if they leave in the yard, if you're outside the house, you can't do anything to them either. So I'm like, the insurance says like, yo, if something happens, we'll send a representative out to support you. We'll send out a cleaning crew to clean up the situation, and we'll give you therapy for the trauma of, you know, the blood splatter in your house with somebody breaking in. That's a good thing. Somehow we all turn that into, that's just racist code words and they're using that to kill black people. I'm like, come on, man. I don't understand this. Everybody's saying the same shit about the NRA. I'm talking about everybody. Everybody on YouTube, everybody on Facebook. But I'm not getting no answers on what do black gun owners who support the Second Amendment are supposed to do, and who should they align themselves with. Nobody's giving any of those answers. Y'all tell everybody what not to do and what's wrong and what coded language, and you breaking down what they're really saying. But you don't tell gun owners what they should do that are black. An example would be a situation. A sister was in there, and she said, she asked, "How do I get my?" She wanted to be an FFL and an instructor. She's like, "How do I do that without the NRA?" Post had like 500 comments of, "You guessed it, fuck the NRA." And she, even though she said, like, how do I get one outside of it? Because I noticed people in this group don't mess with them. Nobody really gave her a definitive answer. Then she reposted it and asked again. I mean, like, that's just common sense. You know that the NRA isn't the only place that you can get certified to do that through. But nobody had no answers. She posted a whole other stat, and finally a brother did say, well, this is where I got mine from, this is how I did it. But 500 comments, no answers, no help. Because motherfuckers just don't know. They were more offended by the mentioning of them than actually addressing her question. Again, take the emotions and feelings out of it. Stop crying about them not doing this, doing that, when you've already written them off. From this point on, when another black person does something dumb with a gun, we should not be calling on the NRA. That black person is just probably going to go to jail because we don't have shit to offer. And again, we mad at Colion Noir and all the other people who are over there. And I'm like, we make it easy as shit for them to go over there. Why start something over here where you know black people are going to bring all the liberal bullshit with them, even though you're saying this is a politics-free zone, and we're going to stick to the one issue, guns? And Dr. Claude Anderson said that perfectly. I actually just watched that video earlier today where he said, yo, black people just too naive and they want to play the politics thing and do whatever Democrats tell them. Like, verbatim. I'll get into that in the video, but it's like, where are the blue dog Democrats? Where are the pro-gun? Like, if you forget the NRA, forget the Republicans, guns are not enough of an issue for you to do either one of those things. But if you truly, you know, love guns and the arsenals I see on this group, I would think so. Where are your candidates at? Where are your pro-gun Democrat blue dogs at? Where they at? Why aren't you trying to get them elected? Why aren't you pushing for them? How is it that you can have a conversation on Fox News about guns, and they're all, you got independents, you got conservatives, you got Republicans, you got rhinos, you got Tea Partiers, you're going to get different answers. How is it that whenever we have black representation in the media, when it comes to this topic, everybody's saying the same shit? Ain't no Democrat pro-guns. And it's not even just a Democrat thing, honestly, because Condoleezza Rice was on View, and she effed up, in my opinion, talking about, I understood why, you know, I don't believe in a registry, because she talked about how when she was a kid, Bull Connor was the president or the governor or whatever her town, I don't know, governor, and he was racist, obviously, and if there was a registry, he would have came and confiscated the guns from black folks so that those KKK members could came in her town and raping pills like they've always done. But then she said she doesn't believe that we should have assault rifles. I'm like, whoa, this is a woman who, you know, engaged in regime change when she was Secretary of State, and she knows about arming rebels. But you don't think that American people should be able to have what you have given to other countries and other small groups to overthrow their governments? Even Dr. Ben Carson, when he was running for president, he said some sideways stuff about guns, and I assume he was in referencing it to the black community, but obviously it's bigger than that. But he had to change his whole tune because white folks were like, "Yo, we can't mess with you on the Second Amendment stuff. You're doing too much." So it even goes outside of politics. You got just black folks just weird about guns, even when they're Republicans. I'm out.
During our Hot Topics meeting that I was reading that you said you are a defender of the Second Amendment, but you don't think civilians should have assault weapons.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I'm a defender of the Second Amendment. I was a little girl growing up in Birmingham, Alabama in the late 50s, early 60s. There was no way that Bull Connor and the Birmingham police were going to protect you. And so when white night riders would come through our neighborhood, my father and his friends would take their guns and they'd go to the head of the neighborhood, it was a little cul-de-sac, and they would fire in the air if anybody came through. I don't think they actually ever hit anybody. But they protected the neighborhood. And I'm sure if Bull Connor had known where those guns were, he would have rounded them up. And so I don't favor some things like gun registration. That said, it's time to have a national conversation about how we can deal with the problems that we have. It's not going to be any single fix to the terrible events of Parkland. You're going to have to decide, well, should civilians really have access to what are really military weapons. What do we do about the age at which people can do this? And finally, let me just say, we also need to realize that if you get that many tips about somebody that they're going to cause harm,
voting and Democrat, Republican, all that. Y'all seen how I behave. I make people mad because I don't feel like life is going to change no matter who's in office. But this is the kind of thing I want to put every inch of muscle I can behind it because it's going to make a difference. So, Dr. Anderson, let me ask you this. So right now, you know, there's a broad conversation about gun control, right? And many Black people, we align with the Democratic Party as a community, and the Black Democratic politicians are right now, you know, sort of speaking in favor of additional gun control. You've got the people on the right that seem to be really protective of the NRA and citing the Second Amendment. And I'd be curious to know, you know, where you think just right now, how Black folks should even process this. You know, we know the history now. So what about just right now, when you see kind of what's going on, what goes through your mind?
Well, okay, let me respond. But first, Boyce, before I respond, and gun laws and the Second Amendment came out of really white folks' interest in maintaining slavery and keeping Black folk under control and keeping them defenseless and powerless. And so and let me go back to that point now, because you see, nothing has changed in about the last 150 years. Black folk right now with the Second Amendment is in the same position. We got about, Boyce, we got about 367 million rifles and handguns in America. About 360 million of them. Now, guess whose hands they're in? They're in white hands, not in Blacks' hands, because Black folk have never been able to have that kind of weaponry available and accessible to them. And so, but every time you go on the Fox channel, they always talk about black folk shooting black. Look at black on black crime in Chicago. Blacks are shooting blacks. Yes, we got some stupid blacks always shooting each other. They ain't got no better sense to go kill their own people with a weapon. But out of 367 million weapons, guess what? White folk own 99 and about 7/10 of all those weapons. They don't belong to Black folk in this country. 100% of all the gun manufacturers are whites. 100% of all the weapon ammunition producers are whites. all the gun clubs and gun shops are white owned. All the rifle ranges are white owned. All the military supply stores that supply the guns and all the techniques and the hardware that goes with weapons are whites owned. And yet I can go to major city after major city and find programs and policies saying we want Black folk to turn in their guns. And if you were to come turn in your guns, we'll give you a $50 worth of groceries. And guess I go by there in person, Boyce, I go look, I see Blacks lined up outside of a damn grocery store, turning in their pistols or their guns so they can get a damn $5 bag of groceries, a $50 bag of groceries. And white folk out of 360 million, they got all the guns and weapons. I can go in the White House and might find 20 or 30 rifles in the house. And see, Black people just don't understand. And I try to teach them this. I said, look, you got to learn how to play this game. And so what I would suggest to do is understand this. First of all, that even though you hear white folks talking on the radio and TV about we got to do something about the gun stocks. That's not the problem, the gun stock. Because the issue is this: when the law was enacted, it says, let's go back and be very academic for a second. It says that all citizens have a right to bear arms. Now, nobody ever defined what bear arms mean. Now, does bear arms means bow and arrows? Because the Indians, they never took the bow and arrows from the Indians. They bore arms all this time. It was the Black folk they said very specifically, you cannot carry any kind of weapon, tool, knife, or anything else, or mirror, signal mirror. And so they stripped Blacks down. They didn't strip Indians. Indians still had arms. They had bow and arrows and spears. They stripped Black folk. Nobody's ever defined what it means when you say bear arms. Now, does it mean, so therefore, why they're bearing arms? Well, because they want to protect their property. That's because Black folk were property. Then what nowadays, if you were to say to Black folk, okay, Black folk, you're going to protect your property. And now, and since you're outnumbered 10-1 in society, and nobody knows what bear arms mean, why don't you get machine guns? Blacks could get machine guns if they wanted to. Black folk right now could go out and get tanks. They can get bazookas, okay, because they wanted to. Or they can even say, well, since we outnumbered 10-1 and racism is still in existence, because deep in the white folks' psyche is what happens about 460 years ago. They always had this massive obsession and fear of Black folk having a riot and coming up against it. Right, every white man, every conservative organization, whether the White Klan or the bald-headed skinheads or the Knights of the Black Horse Brigade or the White Chameleons, They always had a fear that one day there's going to be a major race riot in America. That's the big reason why they fight for guns. That's why they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about gun removal because they know that black folk, they want to keep black folk as disarmed as possible by having them turn in their guns to get groceries while they stock up on guns and weapons. That's why every time there's an issue that rises that looks like it might precipitate something dealing with race, they'll rush out and buy every gun they can get. They're loaded down with them. And it's because, again, black folk have never said, well, I want out number 10 and 1, I want an atomic bomb. Because under that law, he could say that. A black right now can say, I can go out. If black folk were to get very smart, see, and they can start doing what I learned early in political science. What you do is the best defense is an offense. You say, okay, I'm gonna flip the switch. I'm not gonna be against gun control. I'm not gonna be against removing the Second Amendment. I'm gonna say no, enhance it. So that I go out now and based on what I want to be armed with, because my neighbors might attack me, I'm gonna put landmines in my front yard. So if anybody's kids put on my yard, I can blow the hell out of them. Or I'm gonna go get me an atomic bomb. But see, no, black folk are too busy playing the political party stuff with the Democratic Party and the liberals saying, we don't want the guns and weapons. You should do just the opposite. No, we want them just like whites. And I want every black household, it being mandated that every black household has at least 10 AKs.
I still can't comprehend this shit. You know, even today, it's just the same old shit, yo. Like, I guess YouTube has been moist in their banning accounts that do gun videos, and there are people in the group who are agreeing with that, in the black gun group. Never mind, it is what it is. But the irony of this whole gun talk and the over admiration for Killmonger, it don't add up. Because the anti-gun stance that black people have, the hopping on the bandwagon for the Democrat policy-wise when it comes to gun control, even though gun control was started to keep us under control. Everybody loved Killmonger, right? And yet Killmonger was trying to arm people with guns and weapons. And yet, in real life, black people participate in keeping other black people disarmed. How the fuck does that work? You fake Killmonger lovers. Y'all like the idea of Killmonger, but y'all don't like what he was really trying to do.